Viewers, welcome back to the Voice Show here at Science TV, and let's continue with our previous conversation. You remember we had the first part, and this is the second part with Mr. Mwangi. So he was talking about the deaf culture and the history since the 1980s and 70s, and also he was talking between the two worlds, that's the deaf world and the hearing world. But we decided not to end this amazing story, so we decided to request Mwangi to come back. So welcome, Mr. Mwangi.
Thank you so much, viewers. We did not complete the story, and now I think we want to continue. Previously, we had completed part A, and now we are going to part B. Now we finished about how I grew up, the deaf culture, sign language, how I also moved until I was down learning sign language. Now this is now after I joined the deaf world, the deaf culture. I was shocked at first because normally how a deaf person sees some things is not the same as the hearing people. Now, for example, in the deaf culture, what you see and what you think is what you say. There's no beating around the bush, and this was something that really shocked me for the first time. I remember someone asking me, "Where are you going? What are you selling?" I was shocked.
The
Why
deaf
is this
way.
person asking me this? These personal questions. How? So I was shocked, and I was wondering what was the behavior. Then later on, I learned
The deaf
in the
culture.
culture this is normal thing. This is a normal thing. So I became a bridge also between the hearing, so that the deaf themselves also to understand the hearing culture as well. Because before I knew the hearing culture because I was hearing, and then when I became deaf, I also learned and then now tried to merge the two cultures together. It was a lot of work merging this because I started with the sports, and then now also in church, because in church more members are hearing and the deaf are few. So some church members didn't understand the ways of the deaf. So this is now what I was doing, merging the two together. But moving back, before I move back, let me go back a little bit. I have to thank God because you see, I wanted to become I wanted to become a lawyer because you see the ideas I have right now are a lot. So I thank God also for my deafness. I think 1970s moving to I think 1998. In that time, I think it was 10 years. I want to thank God a lot for that time because 1998 I read a book that changed my mind. I understood that God's plans is not the same as the plans of man, because we can become sick. Yeah, you see, maybe as a person you have your own plans, but then God gives you his own plans so that he can direct you into a different path. But we as men always complain a lot, so we have to also sometimes understand the situation, try and relate to God and thank God, because you are all
Just a
deaf. Don't
minute.
thank
Just
God.
a minute. I have a
Don't
question.
complain.
Before you told us you are a staunch Catholic, right? So when you became deaf, does it mean that there was no Bible for you guys, for persons with disabilities to read, or what went ahead? What happened?
You see, before I became deaf, I was a Catholic in Embakasi. That's right, in Embakasi. I used to serve as the boy, the catechist, the boy who normally helps, in the church, standing there with the father, helping distribute things. Yeah, that was my job. Announcements, even calling during the Holy Communion, carrying the food, the Passover feast. And that's what I used to do, passing it around, giving people the table. I used to give the leaders of the church different during the Passover. Also, sometimes, teaching people before they become baptized. Then later, after I became deaf, I abandoned the church, didn't want anything to do with the church. Then I started to, push people to leave the church because, I now started not believing in God and all and things like that. So years later, after now,
Yeah, that's another sign
after
of the
now,
Bible.
after now getting in touch with the Bible, you the Quran as well. That's the Quran.
The Quran, oh
Yeah. So I read and I was shocked. Also, the Indians, they also have their own Bible. I read that as well, compared the three. Then later I thought I was now in between which to join the same. Then now when I was in PCA there, then later I moved on to another church, a Baptist church.
In Ruiru,
we have
did
a
they
lot of
have
death
food?
there. Yes, food,
Did they have
the food is a must.
transport vehicles to bring you in the church and back home?
Yes, food is a must. There must be food there. Yeah, then later, then again, I left again PCA. Then I moved to St. Andrews. Yeah. Now, also, we had a deaf meeting there in the afternoon as well, where we used to interact, with the deaf afterwards. Then now the deaf started, getting into different churches, and not only because of food, because they wanted to understand the way of worship. And then we compared, different services, different religions, so that, well, to find something that, clicks and resonates with us, and to make a final decision. So before that, I moved to very many churches. PCA, I left. Baptist church, I left. Later, Jehovah Witness as well. I tried that as well, where we used to distribute, the.
So you just used to move around
I used to
different
move with my
churches
bag
suits.
there, with my bag, distributing, those book pamphlets we normally do. Yeah. So we used to communicate. I used to communicate through writing during that time. I'd read, I did that. I stayed in Jehovah Witness for 2 years. Then later on, I think 1998, I read a book that changed me now. That told me more about prophecy, things that will happen, in the future. I read, investigated about it deeply, researched more about it. Then I decided to be baptized. Then I joined SDA Church. That's the Seventh Day Adventist Church. But also,
That was which year?
1999.
1999?
Yes. Then I was baptized in 98, 99. I joined the church. Then I moved to Mombasa. Then moved to Embu, stayed there. Then moved again to another church. And then that church also, collapsed.
Did that church collapse and so you buried that church, in short?
Yes, there was a lot of corruption there among peoples there. So there was projects there, and then people now started doing a lot of corruption there. So that's why I decided to move to a different church as well. So meaning the problems did not end. Problems were also there as well.
Okay. Now you've said before you were in the hearing world, right? But let's have a short break before we come back and continue with his story. Welcome back, and let's continue with the amazing story of Mwangi. And I believe that this story is really motivating, and also at the same time it's teaching you how to create awareness, because this man over here, at some point he really hated God, and he didn't feel to be he didn't feel to be any closer with God. And also at the same time, he has shared his story and also his challenges between the hearing world and the deaf world. How he managed to change from the hearing world and adopted the deaf world. That was in the year, which year was that? So it's true. He said that he really tried, and also and he was also encouraged by different pastors, but it didn't work at some point. So we want to see, we've talked about everything, but now we've not talked about your family. So what happened with your family? How did they treat you after you becoming deaf?
Now, you see, when I became deaf, at first, it was difficult for my family to accept, because that situation was never before accepted in my situation, because it was always...
So meaning that they thought that you could start hearing later.
Yes. So they couldn't believe that a person can change from hearing and become deaf. They believed they saw a deaf person as someone low in the society. So they thought it better to make sure that I get treatment. Maybe I go to the hospital, different hospitals, so that they can try and solve the situation and remedy the situation and make me hearing again. So they had different ideas as well. So meaning this situation, I think by then the world did not view the people with disability as people, in high in the society. We were viewed as low people in the society. So my parents thought that, Mwangi, what will he do in future? How will he, be able to marry? How will he even seduce ladies, who will give him respect with the condition that he has? There was, maybe he'll need another person to, maybe support him. And I think they were worried about my future life. They even thought maybe my life will, that was the end of it all. Yeah, so my family, my firstborn
So
brother.
you are the firstborn.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, my family had a lot of hopes in me, because that one day I will succeed and, help the family. But when I became deaf, then all those hopes kind of dwindled down and kind of died. So my family were discussing different things, about how to remedy the situation. So my parents before, while they're discussing, talking, they were getting different opinions, different ideas from, different people, all contributing. Then they decided together that, no, sorry, when I was hearing, we used to sit together, decide different things together with the family. But when I became deaf, now I was put on the side, abandoned on the side. I wasn't asked for anything, advice. My advice now wasn't sought. The parents were the ones who were making the decision now without me. So I felt a little bit disappointed. Yeah.
Excluded.
Yeah. Because you see, the society, the family, they, a long time ago, they kind of oppressed people with disability, including the deaf. So we had to fight I had to fight for a position in my own family, and as well, I had to fight the society outside as well. So meaning that when a person gets a disability later, then it becomes a challenge than a person who was, born with the disability. Because when you're born with it, it's something that is natural, but when it becomes later, it becomes a kind
You've
of
talked about
disappointment.
something which is very important. You started by accepting yourself that you now deaf. So at the same time, how did you seduce a girl, and how did you marry your wife? I want to hear more about your
Actually,
social life.
I used to dream, there were very beautiful girls I knew about, but I didn't know the biggest challenge for me was, now you see, the communication. But I knew that if I tried to seduce a girl, there has to be, communication to make the words sweet. But now you see, now I'm lacking the words. Now the motivation is not kind of there. So when a girl, the lady was hearing, and myself, I'm deaf, I saw this will be a problem with communication. So maybe I thought in future it will be hard for me, to even get married and have a family. So I decided to accept my fate at that time, because you see, if God had planned something, then nobody is capable of stopping that thing. So God changed me from hearing to become deaf. Now this didn't mean that he had reduced my position in society, but it meant that I was equal with the world as well. It's the world that sometimes, sees people as different. So I want to thank God, because he promoted me kind of in a way, because now making me deaf added my knowledge about things here in the world. It also, in church, it also helped me with other groups and other things as well, added me knowledge as well. So now when God had promoted me, I thanked God now for my life. I did not now I wasn't now complaining. Always.
Did you miss something? You haven't talked about marriage. Are you married or you single?
Me now, my relationship status, I know. I want to tell the youth who have challenges, you see, in picking maybe a lady or picking a man, whatever. Don't worry, God is there. And now, for example, in my case, when we were with my cousin, my brother, they used to come and visit, maybe in a party. All were hearing, very smart, beautifully created. I saw these people talking, but then there was a specific person that was very quiet. This I asked, they asked, I was the one, the quiet person. So then this girl decided to now focus on me, because I was now the quiet one, handsome but quiet. Now herself, the lady herself, decided to come, started to, discuss with me, writing. Then, she was reading my lips, I was reading hers. And slowly by slowly, that is how I got. So if there's something there for you and God is in control, then you will find it. And even if you fail, God will pick you and lead you again. So never worry, because now, right now, as we speak, I am married. I have a son.
How at what age did you get married?
I got married in 1984. Yeah, 1984. 1984. 83, sorry. 84, yeah.
Meaning you are over 30 years when you married.
Yes, exactly. Over 30
Viewers,
years.
viewers, have you seen? Uh, when he was a youth, he lost everything, but he believed that one day everything will be okay, and he accepted himself. And things have really worked seamlessly. So, did you marry a deaf or a hearing?
My wife is hearing. When we started, dating, when we started a relationship, it was that was in 1983. Yeah, 83. She used to work in the airport, I think. Yeah, in the airport area. Then she used to come home later, near where I used to live, in the next plot from where I used to live. Then when she came, she used to find standing there. I'd greet her when she comes home, I'm always there every time she was coming from work. Then she was shocked. Then she wondered, I'm always there on time, standing waiting for her there. Then later I decided after work finished, then I'd come. Yeah, I know. Then she came, stood there, looking all beautiful, all glammed up, and I was there also ready, happy to see her as
Wow.
well. Yeah, so it developed slowly, and we connected with time. And then Saturdays and Sundays we never used to meet there. And my cousin sometimes also, used to come. We talked through word of mouth. But my focus, where my focus was, waiting for the girl of my life. And then my cousin also, wondered, how are you communicating? So meaning that something that is there, people with disability, people with different disabilities, physical, be it whatever, but what God has planned for you, then God will definitely give that to you. If it's a husband you are looking for, if it's a work you are looking for, even with your disability, then God will bring that thing to you.
That's very amazing. Your relationship is very motivating to other unmarried people. But before we come to an end, do you have any last words you want to tell someone out here who feels like he or she wants to give up because of what has happened? Maybe they were not born with a disability and they've just acquired a disability through an accident or sickness. So kindly, can you give them a last word? And this last word is just like an advice on how they can grow and accept themselves with the disability that they have. Because if you have a disability or don't have a disability, life will still continue. So just look at the camera and give your final word.
Okay, thank you so much. What I can say is that when I became deaf a long time ago, I didn't go to university. High school was a little, so meaning it was a lot of fighting within myself. But as time progressed, I think around 10, 19, 18, 19, yeah, 86, I think things started now to change. And I started to encourage myself advocating for the deaf rights. Schools were made, and the society as well. Even the environment improved a lot. And there was high school, there was university, there was work, there could be employment, for persons with disabilities. And I think our generation suffered a lot, because even ago in church there wasn't interpreters, but now, as you can see, there are interpreters in different churches. A long time ago there wasn't interpreters for us. So I think the environmental situation right now is better than for us. So life, if we ourselves with our situation succeeded, then I think you stand a better chance of succeeding as well, because government opportunities are also many. There is school, room for studies, and all the deaf out there, please make sure that you put yourself in a position in society. Even the National Council, right now we have the National Council for Persons with Disability. There's a lot of work there. Visit there. There are very few deaf working there, compared to other disability. I think we need to move up, step up, and also take positions, and we should not give up. We also, your disability cannot block you from your success. So also in church, I think we need to focus more on encouraging people and the deaf, people with disability, how to grow together with the hearing community as well, for all people to be strong together. And I think there is a more benefit for the society once we are together and we are united. And I think that will also be help us with the family so that we too can be successful. Because if we replicate that even in the family and change our mindsets as well, then we will be equal and to the other people in the side. So never give up, but know that God is always there and is there to show you, is there to show the world the power through you.
Viewers, you've heard his amazing words. I hope you've captured everything that he has said, that if you have a disability, you will still succeed in life, and never wait for other people to help you if you have a disability, but instead you can change the world by your own self. As you've seen him, he has changed the world, and as a youth he was hearing and he didn't know anything about disability, but right now, as you can see, he has changed the world. He has contributed and empowered so many and have overcome many challenges, and right now he's enjoying the fruits of his labor. So here at the Voice Show, our aim is to educate, to teach, and to create awareness for talent inclusion and include everyone. You have been with me, Videlis Njoki. See you next week on our next show.